And we are live. Okay. And we are live. Alright. Tonight I'm going to be playing around a little bit in some of these obscure window managers that I've already covered on the channel. The main one I'm going to play around in tonight is going to be Qtile. Give me just a second to get everything together here. Alright. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to log into some of these window managers that I've looked at in the past, just to revisit them very briefly. The main one, like I said, that I'm going to take a look at tonight is going to be Qtile. I want to set up a proper Qtile desktop, because Qtile is actually one of the window managers I actually occasionally do live in. Of the 12 window managers that I plan on reviewing for the obscure window manager project, the ones I'm most comfortable living in are Openbox and Xmonad and Qtile. So I'm going to take those a little more seriously, and then I'm going to set those up how I like them, because I may actually spend some time living in those window managers in some of these virtual machines that I'm setting up. This year, I'm just briefly taking a look at FVWM, which was the first window manager I reviewed. It was a very interesting window manager in that it is highly configurable, but because it's so highly configurable, you can do anything with it. It was a bit of a challenge for me, really, to set this up, and I'm not sure if I'm actually happy with what I ended up with here. On the desktop here, we have a left-click menu that's got some applications in it. I actually thought we created, yeah, we did, an application menu here. I believe a menu maker was able to generate all this for me. Anyway, we've got a nice little menu system here. Again, this is the left-click menu. The right-click menu looks like has stick and unstick, identify, screenshot, shut down in it. And then the middle click mouse button, it doesn't look like I have that set to anything. I configured this little panel at the bottom to kind of resemble a dock. Have some quick launchers here. This first one with the Manjaro logo is simply the Rofi launcher. I really like the Rofi launcher. And of course I have our file manager. That's the PCman FM file manager, and this is one of the more frustrating things about FVWM I haven't quite figured out, is when you move the mouse, or the mouse to the top of the screen or to the bottom of the screen, you end up moving all along this pager here. For example, I opened PCman FM, but you see how I keep moving around the desktops. When you move the mouse to the left, right, top, and bottom, you end up all over the place. It's kind of frustrating. I'm not sure if that's something I can disable or not in FVWM, but I probably am not going to ever live in FVWM. It doesn't interest me that much, to be honest. I don't see, the appeal of this over something like Openbox or Joe's window manager if I want to live in a floating window manager. So The launchers down here in the bottom right, I had set these up for the Dead Beef music player. I have, you know, play, stop, next track, previous track here. So if I hit the play button, Dead Beef will launch. There's no music on this VM, so nothing will play. Anyway, this was a very brief look at FVWM. Just revisiting this really quick. I'm going to quit FVWM. And the main reason I'm just logging into these, I'm just killing a few minutes, giving folks time to join the stream before I really get into the meat of tonight's topic, which is configuring Qtile a little more. Anyway, I'm going to log into Joe's window manager. Joe's window manager was one of the most enjoyable window managers I've taken a look at so far here in the Obscure Window Manager project. Mainly because I love Openbox, and Joe's window manager in a lot of ways is very much like Openbox. I was blown away at the speed of Joe's window manager. It's very lightweight. Let me pull up HTOP here. Let me pull up a terminal. And right now, Joe's window manager is using 1.3% of the CPU I gave this virtual machine, and it's using 181 megs of RAM. So very, very lightweight window manager. Your standard right-click menu, very similar to Openbox. We made this menu using the menu maker utility. Joe's window manager also allows for dynamic menus, what Openbox calls pipe menus. So like this recently used menu here, this is recently used documents that from this virtual machine. These are the last documents I've opened. This is a dynamically created list here. Not a lot of window managers allow for dynamic menus. A lot of folks ask me the difference between something like Openbox and Fluxbox, for example. Fluxbox, their right-click menu does not allow for dynamic menus. Their menus are static, meaning they never change. If you want to change them, you have to manually change them. Joe's window manager and Openbox, which we'll take a look at here in a second, these dynamically created menus are awesome. If you know a little scripting, do a little bash scripting, a little Python scripting, you can do a lot with these dynamic menus. The panel at the bottom, this is the Joe's window manager panel. Joe's window manager comes with a panel out of the box. This is a bit different than Openbox, which doesn't come with a panel. You have to install some kind of third-party panel or dock in Openbox. In Openbox, I usually go with the Tint 2 panel because it's a very lightweight, minimal panel, but quite configurable, and you can make it look quite attractive as well. But you can use any panel with Openbox, or any dock for that matter. And the same goes for Joe's window manager. If you didn't want to use the built-in panel, you don't have to. I'm sure we could just cut this out of the config, the panel here, and just use whatever panel you want to use, the Tint 2 panel, the LX panel, whatever, some dock, plank, docky. The logo here, the Manjaro logo, I have this keyed to where it opens the right-click menu for Joe's window manager. Basically, this menu here, you click that, same menu. Anyway, I'm going to exit Joe's window manager. I'm going to check in on my Openbox session here. And my Openbox session here is probably a little more put together than a lot of the other window managers I've looked at, because you guys know I really love Openbox. I live in Openbox most of the time. So I pulled down a lot of my configs. I didn't pull down my menu config though. This is Menu Maker's config for Openbox. And it doesn't look like I added any pipe menus to this. I have a ton of pipe menus actually on my main machine that I could add here. I have pipe menus for my music player, my VirtualBox virtual machines. I have pipe menus for system information, system monitoring info. Also have a pipe menu, I think, for Steam. I'm not much of a gamer. I don't really use Steam, but I do have a pipe menu for it. If I chose to install games in Steam, it would be a dynamically created menu of all the games I have installed in Steam. The panel at the bottom, this is the Tent 2 panel here. Just your standard Openbox session. And since I did it for Joe's window manager, let me go ahead and open up a terminal. I'm going to open up HTOP here. Just for comparison. Looks like Openbox is, not using a whole lot of CPU either, somewhere around 1%. Memory, it's using a little more memory than what Joe's window manager was using, 232 megs. That's still very lightweight, but Joe's window manager was only using 180 megs when I logged into it. So I'm going to go ahead and exit Openbox. And just to kill another minute or two, I'm going to log into PeckWM. PeckWM is very similar to Openbox and Fluxbox and Joe's window manager. You have a right-click menu. Again, the same menu that Menu Maker created this menu for PeckWM. PeckWM also allows for dynamically created menus, such as this time and date menu. This is actually a menu I created here, or excuse me, a dynamic menu I've created here. It doesn't look quite right because you need to use a monospaced font to get the calendar here to look right. This Places dynamic menu here. Basically, this is our file manager bookmarks here. If I click on Documents, it should open the PCMan FM file manager in the Documents directory, and it does. Really like this dark theme. I'm not exactly sure what I'd chosen for a theme here, but really nice dark theme. I really like the Peck window manager theme, which is the top border, this very black border with the green writing, and these buttons here that have some red highlighting when you hover over them. The panel at the bottom is the LX panel, because you guys that watch my video, I mentioned that the Peck window manager hates the Tent 2 panel. It just doesn't like it, so doesn't play nice with it. Got some quick launchers here for our file manager, Firefox, Termite, and Genie. Let me exit out of PeckWM. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and log into Qtile. Qtile, again, was the subject of tonight's video anyway. Oh, did it not want to let me log into Qtile? I might have broken Qtile playing around with it before. Yeah, Qtile, it looks like it's broken. So I'm going to go ahead and log back into Openbox, because I obviously have something wrong with the config here. So let me see. I'm going to open up the Qtile config. Something is not right. I'm not sure. See if I see anything wrong with the config. Yeah, right here. That H should not be there. That's an accidental character that I didn't mean to place there. So let me exit back out of Openbox, and I'm going to try to log back into Qtile and see if that fixed the problem. Yeah, and this is Qtile. This is Qtile how I left it from my previous video. I did a very slight modification of Qtile in that previous video. Basically, I changed the name of the workspaces. By default in Qtile, they are labeled A, O, U, I, O, P, something like that. Basically, they're just hotkeyed to certain keys on your keyboard. I changed them to actual words: dev, www, assist, doc, vbox, chat, media, and graphics. I also moved the panel to the top of the page, or to the top of the screen, rather than the bottom. This panel is at the bottom by default in Qtile. The default key binding to open a terminal in Qtile. Super key, enter, gets me a terminal. This is the termite terminal. I have hotkeyed super key shift C to close a window, to close the focused window. Also have hotkeyed super key and then 0 on the keypad. And that's my run command. I get to open Genie. All right. Let's see, Ron. Yeah, I see you've entered the chat here, Ron. Yeah, you see some buffering. Don't know if it is the connection or the stream. When I'm looking at it in the OBS preview, I'm noticing something weird going on, but it seems to only happen with the Tent 2 panel of my main machine. It's at the bottom. The VM, everything looks good in it. Are you seeing that same thing? Not exactly sure why the Tent 2 panel is spazzing out at the bottom of the screen. It's actually not doing it right now. Oddly enough, when you mentioned it and I said something about it, everything looks good right now. So, but earlier, yeah, it was doing some strange stuff. I don't know. Not sure what was causing that. Yeah, I don't see any weird glitches right now. You know what though? I noticed on the last stream that I did, there were some weird things going on too. I don't use OBS that much. I'm not that familiar with the Open Broadcaster software here. I've only made about 4 or 5 of these live streams, and that's the only time I've ever used OBS. For my normal videos, I use Simple Screen Recorder to do everything because it's a really nice program, very intuitive, very easy to use. OBS is a little bit more advanced and a lot more settings to it. I'm really not sure, the best settings for everything in OBS. I really need to play around in it more. I can't play around in it though live on YouTube because, for example, test streaming, YouTube bans you for doing any kind of test streaming. So, and there's no way to test something before going live. You just have to go live and hope it's working. Anyway, I just opened up the default config here. Well, this is not the default config. This is my config that I had imported into Qtile for my last video. And it's got all my old key bindings from back when I used to live in Qtile. And most of these programs do not exist on this virtual machine. They're not installed. A lot of them are terminal-based programs. A lot of command line programs. First, I have this section here, which I have labeled GUI apps. Let me zoom in here. GUI apps, these are the graphical applications I use most of the time. The atheist just joined the chat. He said hello. Hello. So I have mod W, the super key W, hotkey to launch Firefox, so mod W. Let me see if that's working here. And that works. So I have mod T, hotkeyed for Thunderbird. I'm not going to bother opening up Thunderbird. Mod F for my file manager. Launches PCman FM. I have Mod G hotkeyed for Genie. And I know Genie exists because I'm already using it, but I tested out the hotkey anyway just to make sure it's working correctly. And then I have this section called Terminal Apps. Most of these are not going to be installed yet, and I want to go ahead and get all of these installed, not necessarily because of Qtile, or not just because of Qtile, but I'm going to install at least 4 or 5 other tiling window managers during the Obscure Window Manager project, and I'm going to need most of these programs for those tiling window managers as well. So, for example, I have a key binding for mod key, the super key, plus 1 on the keypad. So super key 1 should open the Ranger file manager, and it does. So I do have that program already installed. I have super key plus 2 on the keypad set to htop. I know htop is installed because we've already looked at it earlier in the stream. Alright, super key plus the keypad 3 should launch IRC, which is the IRC chat client. That does nothing. That's dead there. So I need to install IRC. So I'm going to pull up a terminal, and I'm pretty sure IRC is in your standard Arch repos. So it's a very, very popular IRC chat client. The Atheist mentioned the stream is good. Ron says it may be on his end. No, Ron, I did see some graphical glitching when I was looking at the preview through OBS. But again, the graphical glitches I was seeing all took place in the very bottom panel, the Tent 2 panel at the bottom of my screen here. Like the Tent 2 panel was kind of spazzing out, wigging out, but the virtual machine itself, you know, Qtile and Openbox that I was looking at previously, all of that looked fine. Oh my goodness. What is going on with this here? Apparently we're having some mirror problems. And it's going to try all of them though. Yeah. We'll let it run through. Great thing about doing some of this on a Sunday evening, you know, I really didn't have anything else going on, so I'm in no hurry here. And I don't really have an agenda for this evening. I mean, I don't have anything that I've got set aside that, hey, I want to get done and get on video. You know, wherever this video ends up going, you know, it's getting posted on YouTube, so yeah. And it's still going through every mirror here. Why is it trying mirrors in China? What in the heck happened to the mirror list on this virtual machine? I mean, it tried a mirror in Russia. What the heck is going on here? Yeah, the Atheist just put a smiley face in the chat, yeah. Yeah, because normally on these Arch-based distros, when you have to edit your mirror list, you know, you pick the fastest mirrors. Typically, I only pick 5 or 6. I pick like 5 or 6 of the closest mirrors. Most of them are going to be in the US, of course. So when it's trying to download IRC here, and you know, it's trying to download it from ftp.riken.jp, which is Japan, Something's not right there. Well, actually updating the system here is going well. Its incurses needed update. That's going fine. Bash is updating, yeah. So all that's working out alright. Maybe once I do a full update of the system, I'll try updating or installing URC again. If I can't get URC to install this evening for whatever reason, I'll just move on and install the rest of the programs I need to install. It's not like a IRC chat client is some kind of critical piece of software. But it would be great if I could get it installed. It's actually a pretty neat little program, URC. Very configurable too. You can do some pretty neat stuff with it. You can kind of theme it, configure it, change the layout, change the coloring. And it's one of those programs that's not scary, even though it's a terminal-based program. Because, you know, a chat client is text anyway, so your terminal is text-based. It's all text. So it's a program that kind of makes sense to be a terminal-based program. We're updating the Linux kernel too. That's always scary. I guess I should have done this before I started the stream. System D is going to update. What else is going to update here? Let's see. We got our guest additions, our guest modules. Got some important stuff updating here. Vim is going to get an update. That's cool. We may do some editing stuff in Vim, since we're going to live in mostly terminal-based programs in a tiling window manager. I'll probably set Vim as my text editor. Anyway, while this update takes a few minutes, especially since the kernel is one of the updated packages. Taking a look at some of the recent stuff on the channel. Some recent videos of mine. Earlier today, I did a video on a couple of terminal-based programs. CAVA, which is an audio visual analyzer. Let's see. Yes, CAVA and AA Fire. Also posted a link to UNIXporn. Posted a screenshot to that particular subreddit. It's a very interesting place, UNIXporn. If you guys have never looked around UNIXporn, it's basically a lot of guys posting screenshots. They're Linux desktop screenshots. And it's kind of strange because you don't see a lot of GNOME, you don't see a lot of KDE, you don't see a lot of XFCE. Mostly tiling window managers. It's like 95% tiling window managers, and of that 95% tiling window managers, 95% of those are i3. And of those 95% of the people that are running i3, they're all running i3 on Arch Linux. So it's like every screenshot is i3 on Arch Linux. And it seems like they're all running the same terminal-based programs. They're all running the Ranger file manager. They're all running NeoFetch in their terminal. They're all using some sort of terminal-based music player. Something like CMuse or some of the MPD music players. Anyway, the post I made earlier, right here, Openbox, Manjaro. It's a screenshot of just an empty desktop, just the conky and my Tent 2 panel. And then one that's a little busier. Of course, some of this was tongue-in-cheek, making fun of folks on UNIXporn. They love Japanese anime wallpapers, so that's why I went with the wallpaper. Not something I would ever put on my desktop, but here's a guy showing off his i3. Yeah, he's running Gen 2, obviously, because he's got NeoFetch in his terminal here. He's running Vim here. It looks like he's running C-Matrix. I did a video on C-Matrix just a couple of days ago, actually. He's got a music visualizer here, very similar to what I was talking about with CAVA. And then he's got some kind of instant messenger or chat client running here. And then, of course, he's got his bar at the bottom for i3. Anyway, if you guys are interested in tiling window managers especially, and you want some inspiration for screenshots, or see some terminal-based applications that you might not be aware of, check out the UNIXporn subreddit. It's a very interesting place, to say the least. And the update is moving along. Shouldn't take too much longer now. Of course, the big update is the kernel, and it's already finished with that, so. The next window manager in the Obscure Window Manager project, the next one I need to take a look at is TWM. TWM stands for Tom's Window Manager. I know nothing about that one. I've never used it. I don't even know what it's supposed to look like. I've logged into it one time when I installed this virtual machine. But really, I'm 100% clueless on that one, so I may put off doing Tom's Window Manager for a little while, for a week or two. I'm not going to get in a big hurry to do that one, because what I probably need to do is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone this virtual machine. I'm going to go ahead and create a second instance of this virtual machine, and I'm going to go ahead and play around with Tom's Window Manager on my own, off camera, for a few days, just to get a good feel for what it's about. I had to do that for FVWM, by the way. I actually looked at FVWM for 2 or 3 hours a day for about 3 days before I decided to actually record that video on FVWM. Quite a bit of work actually went into that FVWM video, because I really didn't know that much about it. There was some documentation on FVWM, but it wasn't, like the greatest documentation. And Mark is in the chat room. Hello, Mark. Alright, this update is winding down. One of the problems with having so many virtual machines is keeping these virtual machines updated. You wouldn't think it would be that big of a deal. You just log in once a week, maybe log into all of them. Pick it one day a week, just log into them. Boom. It takes 5 minutes at a time just to update them. Well, things go wrong. I can spend seriously all day updating these virtual machines, especially if a couple of them have some minor breakages that need to be fixed. But it's gotten to the point now, I'm just not even bothering trying to fix some of these. If I have any kind of breakage that's going to take more than a few minutes for me to fix, because I've got so many VMs anyway, and plus I'm always installing new VMs, I just delete these VMs once they start breaking on me. It saves me time from fixing them, plus it gives me more space to install new VMs and keep them run something else for a little while. And of course, ERC is installing now. Okay. And this is ERC. Let me close it. And the key binding we had set super and 3 on the keypad. Let me make sure this works. And it does. Awesome. And I'll come back to ERC later because we're going to configure some of these terminal-based applications once I get them all installed. So according to my old Qtile config here, I had hotkeyed for super keypad 4, the Lynx web browser. So super and then 4 on the keypad. And this should be the Lynx web browser. It's asking me, do I want to allow cookies? Yeah. And this is distrowatch.com. Distrowatch.com in a web browser. Alright, moving on. My old config, I had the mutt email client, terminal-based email client, hotkeyed to super 5. That doesn't work, so I obviously have not installed this yet. So sudo pacman -S mutt. This particular program, even though I'm installing it, I won't be configuring mutt for email, at least not on camera here. But we do have it installed. It is working. It's asking, do we want to create a mail folder at our home folder /mail? Does not exist. Do we want to create it? Yes, go ahead. Anyway, now I'll close this. Alright, and then I had hotkeyed for super key plus keypad 6 the Canto newsreader. It's not installed. So the Canto newsreader, I don't believe, is in the standard Arch repos. I believe I have to pull it down from the Arch user repositories. And the package is called Canto-curses. Canto is a RSS news reader, a news feed reader. Okay. Not installing. It's asked me yes about 18 different times. Okay, I guess it installed. Let's see. Canto curses. Yep, this is Canto. We're not subscribed to any news feeds, so. Oh wait, we must be subscribed to at least one. I think this is the Canto website, and this is /dot, and then Reddit. Okay, so it looks like out of the box they went ahead and subscribed us to 3 news feeds just so we can test things out. So this story, the first story here on /dot, if I hit the spacebar, yeah, I get the little description, the RSS description of that story. And I can configure this to launch the full story in a web browser. Obviously, the web browser I want to launch this in would be a terminal-based web browser, Lynx, which I installed earlier. That will be what I configure this to use. So let me close that. And then I have super plus keypad 7 hotkeyed for the Awesome mixer, to adjust our volume. And I have keypad 8 for NCMP CPP. That is a horrible name. but it is a MPD music player, a really nice MPD music player, but I don't want to go through the trouble of setting up MPD. I'm going to change this. I'm going to install CMuse. Let me save that. Super Shift R to restart Qtile. Did it kill the virtual machine? No, it didn't. Okay. And then we need to install CMuse. So sudo pacman-s CMuse. Pretty sure CMuse is in the standard repo. Very popular music program. Close the terminal. So Super and 8 on the keypad should launch the CMuse music player. And I'm assuming that's what this is. Of course, we have nothing on the screen because we have no music. We've done nothing with it yet. And then looking through my old config, it looks like I used mpsyt. Now that is a terminal-based YouTube application where you can search for YouTube videos in the terminal. I know that is not in the Arch repos. Pretty sure that is in the Arch user repository though. I'm doing a quick search here. No, it is in the repos. Okay. So sudo pacman-s mps-youtube is the name of the program. Okay. Super Shift C to close that terminal. Then Super key and 9 on the keypad should launch that MPS YouTube program. Awesome. Enter search term to search or help. So if I search for something, say Linux bad search, slash search term Linux. You know, it searches for Linux on YouTube. And then I guess we can just type one of these search results. Player not configured. Of course, we haven't set a video player. I'm not even sure if I installed a video player on this system yet. Now this, obviously, we're not going to play video in the terminal. I will have to configure this to use a graphical video player, probably VLC. Anyway, I'm going to close that. Running through some of the other stuff. I had hotkeyed. I had glances. Hotkeyed to Super Shift keypad 1. I know glances is not installed. Glances is a system monitor. Similar to something like HTOP, but different kind of layout. This is Glances. Pretty cool program. I'm going to close it, and then I'm going to launch it with my hotkey. Make sure it's working. It is. Anyway, Glances. You still have your standard information similar to what you have in HTOP. You have CPU, memory, swap. You have your process viewer here in the main pane here. Looks like I also had S2E installed. S2E is a stress terminal application, basically to stress your system. Is this in the Arch repos? I better check. No, it's not. I don't intend to do any kind of stress testing, certainly not in a virtual machine. The main reason I installed S2E previously, I reviewed it on this channel. I took a look at it. It was one of the very early videos I did on the channel. The other thing about it is, if you want some cool terminal-based applications to do screenshots for something like UNIXporn, S2E does the job well. some really nice graphs. Anyway, that's S2E. CAVA. I mentioned I did a video on CAVA earlier. That is our music visualizer, our audio visualizer. And CAVA is also in the Arch user repositories. Basically, when I'm done here, I'm going to have 18 or so terminal-based applications hotkeyed. I'm going to have super key plus 1 through 9 hotkeyed to various things. And then I'm going to have super shift 1 through 9 also hotkeyed to some terminal-based applications. Because if you're going to live in a tiling window manager, most of the time you're going to be in a terminal anyway. You know, probably the only graphical programs that you really need, of course, your web browser, and you're going to have your web browser probably open on its own workspace, full screen. All right. HTT ping is the next one. I had keybound mod shift keypad 4. Now this is not a very common program, but it's a really neat little program. It is actually in the standard Arch repos. I'm actually a little shocked at that, because this is not a program you see too often. But you guys that like doing terminal based stuff, especially you UNIXporn kind of guys that want to do something neat for your screenshots, HTT ping is what you need to install. Let me go ahead and launch it with my key binding super shift keypad 4. And it is not showing the graphs correctly here. May not be configured correctly. Of course, the last time I used this particular program was at least a year ago. Some configuration stuff may have changed. Anyway, that was a complete fail there. rTorrent is a terminal-based BitTorrent client, and that should be in your standard Arch repos. I don't plan on doing any BitTorrent stuff here in a virtual machine, but I will go ahead and install it. Just so I know what that hotkey is keyed to. So when I hit it, you know, it actually launches something instead of nothing happening that way. Alright, and getting to the last of my key bindings, nmon. Nmon is another system monitor. Should be in the repos. Pretty common program. Nmon. This is nmon. If I hit C on the keyboard, it'll give me some CPU information. If I click M, I think it gives me memory. D gives me disk, and so forth and so on. Make sure that's hotkeyed correctly. It is. Alright. And getting to the last two programs, CalCurse. I know I haven't installed CalCurse yet. And I would assume this would be in the standard Arch repos. Pretty common program as well. Yeah, it's there. CalCurse is a calendar slash to-do list slash organizer. We can write our appointments here in the main pane. We can have a to-do list over here. Of course, we have our calendar here. I have that hotkey to Super Shift 7, and it's working correctly. Alright, and the last thing I want to install, CMatrix, was Super Shift Keypad 8. CMatrix, I know, is in the standard Arch repos because I just installed it on my main machine not too long ago. For that video I did, recently did a kind of a goofy video on the terminal applications. I think I did CMatrix, Figlet, Toilet, PonySay, CMatrix. Yeah. And again, this really is not that useful, but you guys wanting to do something cool for a screenshot, that's how you do it. Super Shift 8 should launch it. It doesn't. What am I missing here? I needed a space right there. And then I need to restart Qtile for this to take effect. So Super Shift R. Now Super Shift 8. Well, it does launch CMatrix, but then it immediately closes it. So I need to fix that later. But CMatrix is installed. The last key binding is Vim. Basically, it opens this Qtile config in Vim. So Super Shift 9. This is the Qtile config. This is in Vim. Because inside a tiling window manager, we're probably just going to use a terminal-based text editor like Vim, rather than opening a graphical text editor like Genie. Alright. Well, I got all the programs installed that I wanted to get installed here for Qtile. Of course, I'm going to use these programs also in Xmonad, FVWM, Awesome, i3. So I'm glad I got some of that done. Let me quit Genie. Now, just playing around with some of the hotkeys, I'm going to open up some of these programs about the Ranger File Manager, HTOP. Now I'm going to do Super Key and Tab to change the layouts. This is the Monad Tall layout. I'm going to hit Super Enter just to get a terminal. Now, to play around a little bit, Super Key and J and K on the keyboard move the focus. Super Shift and J and K actually move the window around. And if I want to get really creative, Super Shift and H and L make the windows bigger and smaller, the focused window. I'm going to move over here to the bigger window on the left hand side. I'm going to change the width. I'm going to put it back. You can do some pretty cool stuff there. Cycling through some of the layouts here. This is the stack layout. So we had 3 windows open. 2 of them are all in one stack. They're just stacked one on top of each other. This is the ratio tile layout. Basically, it just puts them in a column. This is the tile format. Very similar to the Xmonad one, except instead of taking up 50% of the screen for the main pane, it takes up a little more than 50%. If I keep opening windows, yeah, it keeps opening them on that other screen. And this is the tree tab layout. We still have our 3 programs open, but now they're stacked one on top of each other, and then here they are in this column here. The next layout is something called the GIMP layout. I think I created that specifically for GIMP. It's a floating layout. And here is the floating layout, the standard floating layout in Qtile. This is the max layout. This would make your current window full screen. So, full screen. This was what you would use for something like Firefox. And I have this max window layout. Set to not have any kind of border, no focus highlighting. So when you open Firefox, well, that's not Firefox. Why do I keep opening that? When you open up Firefox, you see there's no gaps, there's no borders. It just takes up the full screen like it would in any other window manager or desktop. Now, one thing I am not happy about is the color scheme of this terminal. For one thing, I don't like this kind of grayish background. I really want almost a black background, not solid black, but much darker than what it's currently set to. This was the default terminal color scheme in the Manjaro i3 edition. Nice color scheme, but doesn't really fit with what I'm going with. So what I need to do is pull down my old color scheme from GitHub. I had a nice color scheme, black background. Let's see. Hope I still have this config on GitHub. Alex mentions he just switched to Firefox and it's pretty good. What were you using before? Probably Chrome. Coding forever. Please make more Linux video tutorials for noobs. Yeah, that's one of the things I want to do, is focus a little more on like the absolute Linux beginner. Well, this is my old X resources file, but termite, the terminal I'm using, doesn't use X resources, so that's actually not the file I want to get. I want to get this one right here, my termite config. See if I can just copy it. I don't think it's a very long file. And I'm going to open Genie Super 0 to get my run command program. I'm just going to type Genie. Genie launches. Now I need to open my termite config. I don't even think I have a folder in here for termite. Yeah, so I need to create this folder. So new folder. Needs to be termite, all lowercase. And I need to create a new empty file. It needs to be config, all lowercase. We need to open that and then just paste the config. Save. And if everything went right, yep, it did. This is my new termite color scheme. Yep. I like it better than the light gray. Wonder if there's anything else I want to pull down from my old configs. Looking at the chat. Chrome, yeah. Okay. So Alex was using Chrome before, switched over to Firefox. That's great. Chrome is a fine web browser, but of course it's not open source. You know, Firefox is a free and open source web browser. If you want to do an open source Chrome-like browser, then Chromium would be a better option if you wanted to stick to free software. I'm not a stickler myself for trying to only use free software. I will use proprietary software when I need to. For example, Discord. I have a Discord server. Discord is not a free and open source piece of software. It's proprietary garbage, but I use it. Coding forever. Why Linux Mint is so popular on DistroWatch? Because of search engine search engine result pages, SERPs, what they call them. Basically, when you search for Linux Mint in Google, like the first or second thing that comes up is the DistroWatch page for Linux Mint. So anybody that searches for Linux Mint in Google, they're going to be presented with that DistroWatch page for Linux Mint. So that's why. Ubuntu has probably 110, 50, 100 times more users than Linux Mint. And that's not an exaggeration. Ubuntu, by far, the most popular Linux distribution on the desktop. But Ubuntu also has a ton of web properties that are much more important to Google than DistroWatch. When you search for Ubuntu, you get the Ubuntu homepage, you get the Ubuntu forums, you get Ask Ubuntu, you get various other support channels of Ubuntu, you get a million other things. You get the Wikipedia Ubuntu page. You don't get a DistroWatch Ubuntu page in the search results until like almost at the bottom of the second page of the search results when you search for Ubuntu. So very, very few people are searching for Ubuntu and then clicking on the DistroWatch page for Ubuntu, because there's so many other options presented before that in the search results. And honestly, better options than DistroWatch. I mean, you don't go to DistroWatch to learn about Ubuntu. You know, you go to ubuntu.com or Ask Ubuntu, or, you know. But for Linux Mint, I think the second search result for most people is going to be that DistroWatch page. The other thing a lot of distros, smaller distros, are doing to kind of game the system, the DistroWatch system, is they're asking their users to click on their DistroWatch page. They're putting the link to their DistroWatch page, like on their website, their home page, sometimes even. Some of them are even putting it like in their documentation. And obviously, Ubuntu, you know, Canonical, you know, the giant company behind Ubuntu, they're not concerned with DistroWatch rankings. They're not telling people to go click on DistroWatch. So they're too busy, you know, making money off the tens of millions of server installs that they have for Ubuntu. So Ron Lee mentions he uses Chromium. It works. Yeah. Alex says Google eats RAM, though. Yeah. I'm assuming Google Chrome eats a lot of RAM. Undefined particle. There is a CLI app for Discord written in Python. I have seen that around. I haven't actually tried it, but that's good to know. May play around with it actually one day. Maybe even do something on the channel with it just to check it out. Alex Stone, I guess he just did a quick Google search for Linux Mint. The DistroWatch page was third in the results for him. Yeah. Do the same thing for Ubuntu. I guarantee you, DistroWatch is not even in the first page. Undefined particle. Did my message just get deleted? I'm not deleting anything. I'm really not moderating the chat at all. I haven't been paying that much attention until the last couple of minutes. Did you try to post a link or something in the chat, though? I'm not sure what the settings are here in the chat. If you try to post a link, it may not let you. You get Ubuntu, the DistroWatch page is 5th for you? Let me see. That's actually pretty good. When I do a search for Ubuntu, I get ubuntu.com first. I get Twitter for Ubuntu next. I get Wikipedia Ubuntu for 3rd and 4th. Wikipedia. The 5th search result for me is Ubuntu in the Microsoft Store. Then Ubuntu on Facebook, and then the very last one on the first page. So number 10 is DistroWatch. Oh, I see. Twitter is actually 2 through 4 on the search because of the way they have it laid out on the page. Okay. So Google, you know, they rank these things on what they think is the most appropriate, as, you know, what has the most value to their users, right? When somebody does a search for Ubuntu, they see ubuntu.com as being the most relevant thing that they should serve to the user. The next thing they think is the most valuable thing, apparently, is the Ubuntu Twitter channels, then some Wikipedia pages, then the Microsoft Store to get Ubuntu and Windows 10. Wow. Then Facebook, and then DistroWatch. Yeah. Hi, Cubic. How is Qtile? I love Qtile. I've actually lived in Qtile before. I first used Qtile for the first time. I want to say I installed it in Debian, I don't know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago was the first time I looked at it, and I immediately fell in love with it. Lived in it for a few months, then quit using it, went to something else for a while, went to Xmonad or back to Openbox, then came back and lived in Qtile again for a few more months, you know, later down the road when I installed a different operating system. And just recently on my main machine, you guys know I run Manjaro Openbox. I did install Qtile on it too, so I do have a Qtile session on my main machine. We're not looking at my main machine though. We're doing all of this in a virtual machine today. Yeah, undefined particle mentions, yeah, the dot in his message was causing the message to get deleted. Yeah, they probably thought you were posting a link with discord.py. iCubic, isn't Qtile written in Python? Yeah, entirely in Python. 100%. Everything is Python. The config file is entirely written in Python. Everything. So, there's no C, there's no Lua, no Haskell, none of that. You know what, I'm going to pull down my old Canto config too while I'm here. This is quite a large file here. Why don't I just download the whole branch? Because there's going to be a few of these that I need. Just going to download the zip file. I'm going to pull out everything that I need, throw away the rest. iCubic, what CLI applications are we looking at today? Well, mainly I was just installing them. I wasn't doing any kind of tutorials on them. Canto is a RSS newsfeed reader. I'm actually going to show you very briefly. Let me change workspaces. What I've installed, now some of these are not functioning correctly yet, but the Ranger File Manager, HTOP, IRC, the IRC chat client. This would be Mutt. No, this is Lynx, the web browser here. If I went ahead and accepted cookies here, it might display, yeah, distrowatch.com right there. Now, let me close all of these. This is the Mutt email client. This is Canto, the newsfeed reader. Awesome Mixer. And I'm not sure what I had hotkeyed here. I remember there was something that wasn't configured right. It's just a blank screen right now. Not important. And then MPS YouTube. Searches YouTube in a command line. We also had Glances. S2E. And I'm not sure what this was supposed to be here. It's obviously not configured correctly yet either. This is rtorrent. This is nmon, another system monitor, calcurs, appointments and to-do lists. That was C matrix. It doesn't function correctly, at least not how I have it right now. And of course, this is just our Qtile config and Vim. I had it hotkeyed too. So that's just a few common terminal-based apps that I had hotkeyed. Getting back to some of the chat. Okay. I'll click on raw and it'll open just the file, and then Control-Alt-A to select all. That's correct. Yeah. I went ahead and pulled down the entire dot file repo. I'm going to need more than just that file anyway. I'm going to need the config for Ranger and several other things. Will there be an overview with a list of installed packages at the end? I can do that. Actually, if you want to know the packages that I installed, go to my GitHub repo and pull down the Qtile config file. They're all in the config file. Matter of fact, what I'll do is I'll actually link to my GitHub page. That way you can just go pull that one file down. You may want to pull down my Qtile config anyway if you're going to play around in Qtile. You can just use my config. Once you get all the correct programs installed, it should function correctly. Alright, Alex, i3 doesn't have as much configuration. Qtile, from what I know, is more like Awesome. Not sure in what way it's like Awesome. Awesome's a little bit more put together out of the box than most window managers, most tiling window managers. The default config for Awesome is pretty good. Like, you can kind of live in Awesome, you know, out of the box. You really can't live in Qtile with the default config. I mean, you can do some stuff in it, but you really need to config Qtile. And then, of course, more advanced stuff. Xmonad. Yeah, you really have to config Xmonad. How the heck are you opening CLI applications with key bindings? Well, let me find an empty workspace. Let me open up Genie again, and you can check my config. So, right here, I'm running this command. This is for glances. Let me zoom way in. So, my term plus space dash E space glances. Basically what this is my term I have in the config set to termite. This would be the same as me typing termite space dash E. Dash E stands for environment, I believe. It launches another termite window. Instead of running it in this window, it creates a new window. And then what you actually want to run, so glances. And glances now runs in its own separate window. And basically that's how I do all of these. The name of my terminal, I have my term set to termite. You guys can change it to xterm or urxvt or whatever terminal you like. Just give it this E flag dash E, and then the name of the program you want to run. Sometimes you also need to wrap it in single quotes if you have some other stuff you need to do, like give like the glances program. If you wanted to add flags to it, you would need to wrap them in single quotes inside the double quotes here. But again, if all of this seems a little confusing, just when we're done, pull down my config file off of GitHub. It's where I pulled all of this down, by the way. This was an old Qtile config from years past that I had. Alright. Alex Stone, yeah, you were wondering what part of the config did that? Basically, like the first half of this config. I mean, it's not a very big config. I mean, it looks like it's a very long config, but at least half of it is key bindings. So, basically everything here that starts with key, this is setting a key binding. Then you're basically telling, you know, what keys you're setting it to, and then what command those keys are going to run. And this is standard in pretty much any tiling window manager. I mean, they're all written in different programming languages, but it'll be laid out in a very similar fashion. The key binding portions of them are usually very straightforward. You don't need to know any programming to be able to edit this stuff. Yeah, and undefined particle mentions about me binding the terminal app. Yeah, by default, I think they're the Qtile config doesn't have a terminal app binded. I actually created this myTerm function somewhere. I don't know. I think I put it at the bottom of the config. Let me go down to the bottom. Yeah, right here. See, myTerm equals termite. And then I have this comment, my terminal of choice. If you guys wanted to choose something else, just change this to xterm. And xterm will be your terminal of choice. Also mod. You guys see mod everywhere in my Qtile config. That is set to mod 4. Mod 4 is the super key on the keyboard. If you wanted to use alt as your mod key, you would change this to mod equals mod 1. Why do I have this set? Because if you wanted to change the mod key, if you had, instead of mod, you had mod 4 written out throughout all these key bindings, and then later you wanted to change them, you would have, 100 things to change, 100 different instances of mod to change. So it's easier just to define mod somewhere. And then if I want to change it down the road, it's just this one simple line to change. Analog. Darn, got here late tonight. You really didn't miss much, Analog. I really didn't know exactly what I was going to do here tonight. I'm just kind of goofing off a little bit in Qtile. The first half hour or so, I was just in a terminal installing stuff in PeckWM. Wasn't anything too interesting. iCubic, is anyone else getting buffering issues? Yes, we had someone else mention there were some buffering problems. I think it was Alex. Yeah, Alex mentions me too. Awesome comes without a config on some distros. These tiling window managers, all of them come with a config, but like the default config sometimes is hidden. It's not in your user folder. It's not in your home folder. For example, the Qtile default config that's supposed to be in your home folder /.config/Qtile, that directory does not exist. When you first install Qtile, you actually have to create that directory. Then you have to copy the default config from wherever it is on your system. Let me find it. Locate Qtile. Right here. User share doc Qtile default config. That is actually your Qtile's default config. Now, that you need to copy that to home/.config/Qtile and then rename it. Instead of default config, you need to rename it simply config.py, and then you can edit it and hack on it. Awesome is probably the same way. There's a default config somewhere. It's just not in an obvious spot. All right, Dan, thank you. I'll do that. Got some flickering on the panel again. Yeah, that Tent 2 panel at the bottom, I don't know why that flickers, because the virtual machine is fine. What I'm going to do for future streams is I'm actually going to set the recording, the screen capture, to where the bottom 24 pixels or whatever that the panel is in, I'm just going to cut that out. So we're going to solve that problem. I'm not going to record the Tent 2 panel anymore. You guys don't need to see it anyway. It's not part of the virtual machine. It's kind of in the way, even being on the screen. You guys notice that when I make my videos in Simple Screen Recorder, for my usual videos, I simply record the VM. You don't see anything that happens outside the VM most of the time, because it's just a distraction, Alex, damn, that's much easier than using Haskell. Yeah. The xmonad config is quite a bit more confusing, because Python, especially the way I have my layout here, I have it kind of straightforward. I mean, anyone, even if you've never programmed, you kind of know what's going on here. Especially, I've got these comments here like layouts. This is the layouts. This is max, monad, tall, stack. This is my window layouts. Widgets. These are the widgets in the bar at the top. Screens. And then I have in parentheses triple monitor setup. This basically handles my 3 monitors. Floating windows. I have this commented. This is for all of those windows that I want to be floating, that I don't want tiled ever. Things like your notifications, toolbars, splash, that kind of thing. Reading through some of the chat I've missed. iCubic. Haskell is fine, it's just that the xmonad libraries suck. One thing I will say, when I did my video on Qtile, I mentioned that the Qtile documentation was fantastic. Their website was great. Xmonad, their website is fantastic too. They have really good documentation. So, iCubic, what distro are you running Qtile in? This is Manjaro. This virtual machine is running Manjaro i3. I installed Qtile on it. I'm also running Qtile on my main production machine, which is Manjaro. You guys normally see me running Openbox. I installed Qtile on it too. Sometimes I log into Qtile on my main production machine. Undefined particle. I have a friend that loves Haskell, and I'm trying to get him to give xmonad a try, or really any other window manager. Yeah, if your friend actually loves Haskell, he would love xmonad because it's entirely coded in Haskell. Everything is Haskell. So if he's learning Haskell, I mean, he can really hack away on xmonad. And there's a ton of people that learn Haskell. I don't know why, but when you go to an IRC chat channel and you go to the Haskell channel, there is like a bajillion people in that channel. It's crazy the number of people that are learning Haskell. And a good percentage of them run xmonad. It's one of the reasons xmonad has been so popular for so many years, is because of how popular Haskell is. There's not a lot of Haskell programs out there. I mean, when you talk about Haskell applications that are common out in the real world, xmonad is about it. iCubic, do you recommend modifying the default config or just writing your own config from scratch? I would just look at the default config and modify it at first, play around with it, and then as you get more comfortable with it, if you want to start something from scratch, if you know Python, there's not a whole lot to the config, so writing one from scratch wouldn't be too difficult, but at first I would just familiarize yourself with the default config. Really, familiarize yourself with Qtile at first. You need to learn exactly what you can do in Qtile. Undefined particle also suggested the same thing, yeah. And I've been programming for years, and Python is awesome. That's Alex. Okay, that's great, Alex. I'm not really a programmer myself. I know enough Python to be dangerous. Know a little bit of PHP from doing some web development. Does VirtualBox handle multi-monitors properly? Yes, it does. I can tell VirtualBox. Right now I have it one screen. This is my second of 3 monitors here that we're watching. But if I want to, I can tell this virtual machine to open up on all 3 monitors, and I will have a triple monitor setup, just like I normally would on an actual install. iCubic, the Xmonad docs are just generated via Haddock. I did not know that. He mentions he hangs out in the Haskell IRC channel. There's always like 1 million people in that channel. It's crazy. Alex, people are learning Haskell because it's different than typical programming languages. They call it practical. Yeah. The issue with Haskell is that there are not really that many front-end libraries, graphics, web server, etc. Yeah, that's true. I mean, where are all the Haskell video players? Where are all the Haskell audio players? I mean, it's great that somebody was able to create a tiling window manager in Haskell, but yeah, where are the multimedia stuff? Anyway, I had downloaded my configs here. I'm not even sure if I want to bother fooling with them now. Starting to get late. Where did I pull that? My dot files here. Oh, I'd already had them here. Oh, I didn't want to do that. It's my IRC config. Let's see if I remember where to put the IRC config. Alright, and if I did that correctly, yeah, this is IRC with my config, themed the way I like it. It's automatically connecting to the Freenode network. It's already choosing my username, DistroTube. If I wanted to join something, since we were mentioning it, here's the Haskell channel. Look at the gigantic number of people that are in this channel. 1,663 people. iCubic, I wish I knew enough C to hack the kernel and do cool stuff like that, but I don't. Yeah. I'm not sure if the kernel really needs more developers. I mean, so many people work on the kernel. But I agree, it would be cool. I wish I knew some C. An undefined particle mentions that, Haskell is different than your functional programming languages. Alex Stone, I was reading kernel quite a bit, and damn. How many millions of lines of code is the kernel now? I mean, it's growing exponentially. I mean, it's like crazy how big the kernel is. As a matter of fact, at the very beginning of this stream, I updated this VM, and one of the things we needed to update was the kernel. And it was like by far the biggest program that needed to be updated of the 60 or so that needed an update. Anyway, IRC, let's close that. And of course I could go through all my other configs, my Ranger configs and all that, and get them set up the way I like. But I don't think I'm going to bother doing that this evening. I think I'm going to wind this down. Just spend a few more minutes here and then close the stream. Undefined particle. It's a nightmare at first to get the grasp of the concepts, I'm assuming, for Haskell. You already know how to program in object-oriented languages. Let's check out some of the recent viewer comments. from my video earlier about UNIXporn. Are screenshots of Mac allowed in UNIXporn? That is a good question. I think they are, because technically Mac is Unix based. I mean, it's based off of a BSD. So I would think they do allow Mac screenshots. I think they do. For sure they don't allow Windows screenshots. You will get banned for that over there. So let's see. Got somebody asking some questions about my Calculate Linux review, looking for some support questions. I get this a lot, people asking support kind of questions in the YouTube comments, and when I see them and I have time, I will answer them, but that's not really a proper support channel. I mean, this guy would get much faster response and probably better support if he went to the Calculate Linux IRC chat channel or their forums. Now, I get this a lot in Facebook. I'm surprised. I get one or two people message me every day privately on Facebook about, I need support for this or that. How do I do this? And I'm wondering why they don't go to the proper support channels for whatever it is they're trying to do. Especially on Facebook. I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook. I check my Facebook page, I don't know, a couple of times a day, but I don't hang out on Facebook. So about my UNIXporn video earlier, Alex, your Japanese anime background is not weeb enough. I'm not sure what weeb means. I'm out of the loop on that, Alex. So. And you mentioned about my terminal glitching in that UNIXporn video. I know why things were a little goofy in that video. I mentioned I have a triple monitor system, and I had a million things running while I was making that particular video. I had stuff installing in Pac-Man. I had a couple of web browser windows opened. I had a file manager open. And then you saw those windows I was opening up during the video. I had CAVA running, AA Fire running, and had Conky running, and that's a pretty big Conky that I was running for that video. Simple screen recorder, of course, was recording. Then I had somebody about UNIXporn mention I should check out R Linux memes. And I told them I would check it out. I haven't had a chance to check it out. Not going to check it out on camera here, just in case it's not safe for work. Kevin Patel, not sure if you're serious in this video, or are you just poking fun at our UNIXporn? Yeah, yeah, I was poking a little fun at him. Anyway, and I think we'll call that a night, guys. Like I said, I didn't have really much planned here. Let me go ahead and close my virtual machine. We still have it up. At least I updated the virtual machine. And let's see, iCubic. I know a bit about C++. We is short for weeaboo. Weeaboo is a person who's totally obsessed with Japanese culture. Okay. He's Wapanese, wannabe Japanese. Wow. How do you guys know this stuff? I mean, where do you hang out to learn these words? They usually have anime girl body pillows and katanas. Oh. Alright, guys. Well, I want to thank everybody that joined the stream tonight, everybody that participated. If you guys found any of this interesting, please like, share, subscribe. I know all you guys in the chat are already subscribed. I want to thank all of y'all. I will probably do Tom's Window Manager for the Obscure Window Manager project. I probably won't get around to it this week. I've got a pretty busy week this week, and Tom's Window Manager is going to take some effort, so it will probably be the following week I get around to that.